So see how all these developments which were being witnessed mainly in the context of the Western countries, because public administration as a subject owes its origin to the Western countries, right? So how it was evolving, how it was emerging, and what were the practical developments which the society was witnessing, that has all been summarized by a scholar known as Nicholas Henry. Nicholas Henry and Golumbieski, in fact, both. There is another scholar, Burrell and Morgan, right? He has also tried to fit in this model, or tried to fit in this development or evolution of subject into a particular model, right? Into a particular framework for us to understand, right? Visible here? Fine. So they have tried to bring a crispness to this academic growth, right? Academic development by promoting certain frameworks, right? So there are three primary scholars. One, right? Let us see. Frameworks and models, and mainly the contribution has come from Nicholas Henry, generally asked in the exam. Golumbieski not regularly asked now. Right. And another scholar which we can take up, right, as a value addition is, or two scholars, basically Burrell and Morgan. Fine. Now obviously the concept of paradigm comes from, somewhere is linked to these two scholars, right? Paradigm. Right. Though paradigm word used by Nicholas Henry is supposed to have been borrowed from the natural sciences or physical sciences, it was mainly used in physics. In social sciences, scholars like Thomas Kuhn, Thomas Kuhn talked about something as, or they refer to the evolution of PubAd, the growth of certain developments like comparative public administration, public policy approach, right? They refer to this as pre-paradigmatic. Pre-paradigmatic growth. So obviously to understand what pre-paradigmatic would mean, we need to understand paradigm. Right? The term paradigms have been used by many natural scholars, social scientists as well, but mainly by the natural science scholar or physical science scholars, mostly dealing with physics, right, or astronomy and likewise. The word paradigm, in simple sense, would mean a dominant concept, right? A dominant concept which is based on logic, facts, right? Logic, facts, empirical study. So the word paradigm somewhere emphasizes that whatever concept we are talking about, whatever knowledge, whatever conclusion we are talking about, okay, that is not something subjective, that is not something value based, that is not something which I have created by my whims and fancies, by my discretion. It is not something which I have visualized as it is, right? It is not a dream which I am talking about. It is something concrete. It is something which is visible. It is something which is there. It is something which can be proved, right? That is what a paradigm is. So paradigm is a dominant concept which becomes a kind of defining factors, which becomes the important framework in a particular phase, in a particular era. For example, when we say today is the era of digital governance, or today is the era of social media, yes, today. Not necessarily always it will remain. Neither it was always there. The social media would have been there, let's say in the late 90s also, but it was not the phase of social media because there was no domination of social media. The social media was not the center of study. The social media was not the center of governance, right? So it would not have become paradigm. It would have been a pre-paradigm. It would have been an emerging paradigm. It would be on the way to becoming a paradigm, but it was not a paradigm. So for certain development, certain concept, some conclusion, some theory, some knowledge to become paradigm has to somewhere, right, pass this test. Logic, facts, rationality, and its dominant influence in the theoretical development. So all the theories, all the knowledge, all the intellectual development that would have been taking place in public administration, that would have been taking place around a particular idea. And that particular idea, that particular theory, that particular principle becomes the paradigm for that phase. So Nicholas Henry very cleverly borrows this idea to indicate two important things. One, that public administration as a subject was becoming scientific. It was somewhere evolving into a discipline, into a organized body of knowledge which was based on scientific understanding. It was developing its own concrete literature, and this literature was not anarchic. It was not just being borrowed from political science, social science, technology and other things, but it was developing its own content somewhere as an identity. So the word paradigm, first thing which indicates is that yes, that there are certain landmark developments conceptually, right, logically, scientifically, certain developments are there in public administration which were paving the way for public administration to become an organized body of knowledge, body of study with a scientific basis. When I'm saying scientific basis, do not confuse this scientific basis with the word, with the term which is used normally in the field of physical or natural sciences. When we say scientific basis, we would agree to the fact that there are a lot of evidences, right, which may be able to prove to an extent that whatever knowledge we have created, that is somewhere visible, that is somewhere acceptable, that is somewhere non-debatable, that is somewhere conclusive in nature. Right? So we accept that way when we say scientific basis, that okay, there is no two views, there can be 1,000 views, it doesn't matter, but whatever knowledge we are talking about, right, there is no dilemma in the acceptance of this knowledge. Fine. So that is why the word paradigm was used, and that is why it was important, right, as a term. Second, what Nicholas Henry would have obviously identified was that if we understand different paradigms, if we break the evolution of PubAd into different paradigms, into different dominant concepts, we would be able to very easily interlink these developments, fine, to give an idea of whole, an idea of totality of this subject. That subject is not a random development. Subject is a sequential development. It is a chronological development. It is a development, right, which links one to the other. And so there will be a kind of continuity in the understanding of what happened in the field of public administration. So the term paradigm was very cleverly used to indicate that. Third, the word paradigm will give a scientific identity, will give an identity to public administration itself. Rather than treating public administration as a foster child of political science or a stepbrother of political science, right, or of any other social sciences, it would be acceptable that public administration has an identity of its own, and it is moving towards becoming a full-fledged discipline. Right? A discipline is one which has its own literature, it has its own content, and it has the means to prove what content it is writing, right? What content it is developing. It has its own methods to prove it. So if a subject has research methods developed, if a subject has techniques of its own, if a subject is able to prove what knowledge it is propagating or what knowledge it is describing or prescribing, then it becomes a discipline. Right? So it had a lot of benefits to the use of the term paradigm.